There are a number of other considerations for how this kind of randomly selected body will work. It is essential that citizens only learn of the issues they will vote on after they arrive at Parliament. This is important to reduce chances for biasing the selected parliamentarians' opinions before they arrive. People could bias themselves by investigating issues using manipulated sources of information or forming an opinion before getting all the facts. Special interest groups could also seek to influence people if they announce publicly what the issues are going to be that people will be deciding. So these special interests could launch propaganda campaigns to influence public opinion, knowing that people are being selected. The issues that will be debated in Parliament must be kept secret ahead of them being debated. Special interests could seek to influence people if they announce the issues that they would be deciding upon in Parliament. They could launch propaganda campaigns to influence public opinion. Knowing the issues beforehand could also make people vulnerable to targeted coercion and blackmail. So people would only be told what they were going to be debating in Parliament once they had arrived. In the initial step, people would only be told that they have been selected, and they were given basic logistic details like when to show up and how to get there. We will need to have multiple, simultaneous citizen parliaments. One reason that having multiple parliaments is important is that it makes it hard to guess which issues selected citizens will be debating, because it could be one of many issues. This helps to protect them from coercion, blackmail, and influence by special interest groups. There must also be no public announcements about when parliaments will debate particular issues. We will know certain issues are up for debate at some point, but when exactly this is happening must be kept relatively secret. It must be difficult for any selected citizens to guess which issue they are being called upon to debate and make a decision upon. It would also be a good idea to have multiple parliaments starting at the same time. This will add to the uncertainty and protect participants and democracy in general. Selected citizens will be unsure what issue they're going to be debating, as will special interests. This both protects citizens from coercion, and it reduces the likelihood of citizens forming opinions prior to arriving at Parliament. Another reason it's important to have multiple parliaments running at the same time is this will simply be a pragmatic necessity. It will be needed to get through all the issues that a parliament needs to address each year. Some laws will require days or even weeks for people to learn about the issues, debate them, amend any proposed legislation, and then ultimately vote on the matter. And in complex modern societies, there are hundreds of issues that must go through this process every single year. So there will need to be multiple parliaments operating simultaneously. It's important that these selected parliamentary citizens remain isolated from people outside the parliamentary process while they are debating and deciding upon an issue. And there's several reasons for this. It's important to prevent extortion, bribery, and attempts to influence these selected citizens. Even if they are secure at Parliament, their family, friends, and colleagues on the outside are vulnerable to influence, coercion, blackmail, and extortion. Their business interests, relationships, reputations, and personal assets are all avenues through which special interests could seek to coerce or influence people that have been selected to serve in parliaments. Restricting access is also important to prevent the selected citizens from selling their votes to special interest groups. Contact would have to be very limited and monitored. People would be able to contact family and friends freely before their first briefing after they arrive to let their family know they've arrived safely and so forth. But once they know what issue they're going to be debating, there needs to be very limited communication with the outside world to prevent this kind of corruption. Once citizens know the topic they're going to be debating, access to the outside world needs to be very restricted and monitored. They cannot be allowed to give anyone on the outside even a hint of the issue that they're going to be debating. This is both for the integrity of the decisions and the whole democratic process, and for the safety of those people involved and their families and people they know. The whole process of selecting citizens and having them debate on issues must receive the full weight of national security and treated accordingly. They are, after all, deciding the laws that will make the nation. The only exception to being cut off from the outside world would be for emergencies and matters of life or death. In these circumstances, an independent public service body would act as an intermediary to manage these cases, and they wouldn't happen often. As with many jury systems today, there must be non-voting extra observer citizens who are present within the system to step in should any selected have to leave for an emergency. This buffer of extra citizens must be part of the selection process, because personal emergencies are inevitable. In addition, selected citizens would not have access to the internet or any outside media during the process that they're debating an issue or trying to make a new law. In today's world, it's too easy for manipulated audio and video to circulate on the internet. There are coordinated propaganda campaigns to sway public opinion. And if our selected parliamentarians are exposed to this misinformation, it will affect how they vote. If people had access to this disinformation, it might be enough to sway opinions during the key, crucial voting period. So, selected citizens must remain in isolation from outside influences while they are debating issues and voting on legislation. The only source of information that parliamentarians get must be independent and factually vetted, and there must be a very careful process for ensuring this takes place. Selected parliamentary citizens will receive multiple briefs on issues from groups with different motivations, on different sides of every issue. The aim is to provide selected citizens with a comprehensive overview of the topic they're going to decide upon. This means that they will have to hear from independent experts as well as special interest groups on all sides of the issue. The citizens will receive information from people who have nothing to gain from any outcome, as well as from all sides that have something to gain or lose, so that all perspectives can be heard. It is important to hear from all sides because special interests will spend time highlighting issues that independent experts may overlook or not emphasize. However, special interests will be motivated to omit crucial details and tell a one-sided story. They will try and make their argument as strong as possible. Special interests will try to skew the information so that they get their desired outcome. Selected citizens also need to hear from a variety of independent experts who can supply impartial and factual assessments of the relevant issues. This includes analysis of the causes of the problems being addressed and assessments of consequences of different proposed solutions. Selected citizens need to hear from all sides of a debate, as well as impartial experts who have nothing to gain or lose from any outcome. We would have a specialized independent parliamentary body to oversee this whole process of gathering and vetting briefs. A different group of selected citizens must vet the briefs as well. All parties providing information must be held to account at being factual and not misleading parliamentary citizens on purpose. There must be severe individual punishments for lying to parliamentary citizens in any of these briefs, or for purposefully misrepresenting issues and facts. The specialized independent body that briefs selected citizens must adjust the briefs until all sides are happy with the presented information. It's important that parliamentary citizens reviewing the creation of the briefs are not the same ones that ultimately decide on that issue. This is important because otherwise they may see earlier versions of the briefs that contain misinformation, partial truths, and biased information. The people making the decisions on an issue should not be exposed to misinformation and lies. So selected citizens will have two jobs. In the first case, they will review briefs for another group, and in the second case, they will decide on a particular issue. And for that issue, another group will have reviewed their briefs. It's also essential that citizens review briefs and are able to contribute to them, so that different perspectives can be heard and any missing information can be added so that the next group of citizens have a full spectrum of information on which to make their decisions. So the information provided to citizens is representative of all the possibilities and viewpoints that are existent in a society. So when you have a representative body of randomly selected citizens making sure that the information represents all viewpoints, and then you have a second randomly selected group of people making decisions based on that very well vetted information. You get information that is as objective as possible, and then you get decisions made on that objective information that are as representative of the population as possible. This avoids special interests having too much influence over the whole process. So citizens that are selected for parliamentary duty have at least two duties: to vet information for another group and to decide upon an issue based on information vetted by another group.